Starfield mods are starting to get really good already. We're just a week and a half in, but there are already quite a few mods that you'll probably make permanent additions to your game. Download now and literally keep forever as long as you keep playing Starfield, including the Starfield script extender, which did drop just a few days ago. This is going to be that quintessential mod for the advanced modding capabilities on PC, and modders are already taking advantage. There's a new and very simple to install achievement enabler mod that relies on this, so downloading mods or using console commands will not disable achievements. They'll still be fully active, and you could of course cheat to get achievements if you want to. And this will even remove that achievement pop-up that appears whenever you open the console in Starfield. But there's also some more powerful additions like enemy-friendly fire. This will make it so enemies can damage one another in combat. So you can see these pirates as they're moving around are occasionally taking damage from their own allies behind them that are accidentally landing shots on them. This mod will truly level the playing field and occasionally lead to some hilarious outcomes. Or maybe you're just tired of the restrictions in Starfield. Well, the no reactor limit is another great SFSE mod. This will allow you to install multiple reactors on your spaceship at one time. Typically, you could only install one reactor at a time, but now you'll have all of the power for those ridiculous spaceships you're building. Crowded Universe is another pretty cool one. This will increase the number of randomly generated locations near your landing spots. Typically, you're able to find 2 or 3 locations nearby whenever you land on a planet, but this mod will dramatically increase that, so there's going to be more areas of interest for you to stumble upon, and you won't have to be darting around on planets nearly as much. And one that's definitely going to be great for older fans, Baka Disable My Games folder. For some reason, with Starfield, Bethesda changed how modding works, so now many mods need to be placed in the My Games folder, instead of the typical data folder just located in the install location. This mod will change that, so everything is tidily in your install location once again. It's honestly incredible that we're getting the script extender for Starfield this early, although there is one major issue here for a decent chunk of you. The Starfield script extender is really only going to work with the Steam copy of Starfield. So yeah, console mods aren't here at all, and Todd Howard has confirmed that official mod tools aren't coming until next year. But in the meantime, Starfield script extender will only work on Steam because the Game Pass version of the game on PC really locks down some of the files that it can manipulate. There's some workarounds with the current version, but that mostly is due to the fact that this early version of script extender is very basic and super simple overall. So in the long term, if you want some of the best mods for Starfield, you are very likely going to need to own the game on Steam, unless Microsoft enacts some dramatic changes on how files are handled under the Microsoft Store. But thankfully, even if you aren't on Steam, there are still a ton of incredible non-script extender mods you could download right now. The single most popular mod available right now, though, is Star UI Inventory, this being a comprehensive inventory UI overhaul for Starfield, so PC users can stop pulling their hair out as they try and navigate throughout the various menus in-game. Starfield's original inventory is just a bit clunky, forcing you to dive into multiple menus, while Star UI has a lot more information being presented even from the onset. Your inventory will now be more compact, showing more information at once, but also providing far more details on individual items. You can easily sort lists of items for various different criteria, and there are even handy organizers here, like the damage per second weapons will deal, or even the value by weight of items, so you can get rid of some of the stuff that's not worth a lot but taking up a lot of inventory space. And you could also add criteria, like the rarity of certain items, whether it's legendary or not, or even just the value of an entire stack of items. And some parts of the inventory will even feature further options, so you can see just food, healing items, or even general chems, and really narrow it down so you could find what you're looking for. Something I use a ton, the ship transfer menu, is also upgraded with this. You can now see the weight of both your inventory as well as your ship's cargo, and it's more clear what's being transferred where, as well as overall your inventory is going to have the animation speed increase, so now everything is going to be a nice smooth 60 FPS, which is definitely a notable upgrade. You really feel this. Overall, this mod's going to reduce the time you spend in your inventory in Starfield, which is a huge plus and something this game desperately needs. It features a variety of very handy built-in tools, and overall, I think this is a must download for the vast majority of PC players, and it'll even work with other vendor inventory, so it'll make the shopping experience a lot better too. But if you're downloading this, you may as well download a few of the other UI mods to pop up over the past week or so. The Compact series of mods will make menus thinner, so you can actually see more at one time. This will apply to the Mission UI, so you can see more more of your available missions at a time, but more handy is the shipbuilding UI version. So you'll be able to see more ship parts at once so you can compare what you have fully available to you. If you're a new player in Starfield, I would say visible skill descriptions is a must download. Instead of locked skills having these vague descriptions that don't even really tell you what exactly they do, now they'll just tell you what they do, even if the skill is still locked. This will give you far more guidance into which skill trees to build down, as you could actually see what the later and more powerful skills will eventually end up doing. But if you want to boost up your performance in Starfield and you do have a 4000 series NVIDIA GPU, you definitely need to download the Starfield frame generation mod. I covered Pure Dark's frame generation mod in the past, but that one's actually locked behind a paywall, while this one's totally free. And I actually found this works even a bit better for me. I saw gains of up to 30 FPS in Starfield thanks to DLSS 3.0 being turned on. And to actually use DLSS 3.0, you do need a 4000 series NVIDIA GPU. There's really no workaround for that part. And overall, it just dramatically boosts your frame rate in game. I would also recommend turning off sharpening when using this mod to remove some of the visual artifacts. But overall, yeah, it's just a bunch of free FPS with very little visual downgrade. For me, I think the game looks basically just as good, and I was finally able to walk around some of the major cities and be comfortably over 60 FPS. This mod had some crashing issues in the past, but thanks to a recent update, it seems like basically all of that is gone. I've been using the mod all day and have not crashed once. So if you did give it a go in the past but had too many problems, I'd recommend giving it another try with the latest update. But okay, now that you have some extra frames in Starfield, let's make the game look a bit better. Effect Textures Enhanced will upgrade a variety of the effects you could find in Starfield to just make them look a lot better. The two most notable differences from this are with fire and gore. Fire in vanilla Starfield just looks surprisingly rough. It almost doesn't even feel like it has that much of a presence at times, but with this mod you could see a dramatic improvement in both the visuals of fire on the ground, but also how other NPCs look as they are running around ablaze. It'll really increase the presence fire has when it pops up in combat, but you'll also find upgrades in the gore and blood effects on many NPCs. In vanilla Starfield, this is pretty tame, but with this mod, it becomes quite a bit more notable. You'll see the visuals from bullet impacts, and it feels like blood splatter becomes a larger component overall, and this mod honestly upgrades a bunch of other things. Bullet impacts will have enhanced textures, but also things like smoke effects have been completely overhauled, along with fog and all of the storms in the game. But if you want to see things enhanced in a far more personal way, the Eyes of Beauty also just launched. This mod will overhaul all of the eyes in Starfield to be higher resolution and more detailed. So now, all of those familiar NPCs will have better looking eyes, whether this be the notable Constellation members or even just some of the random vendor NPCs whose faces you just keep seeing over and over. And this change will also apply to your own character, improving your own eye visuals. Not that you really see them that much, but it definitely is nice, especially if you're somebody who uses a lot of photo mode. But what has easily become my favorite visual mod for Starfield is neutral LUTs. This will strip that odd color filter Starfield typically has to make environments look more true to life. In some locations, particularly Aquila City, this mod has a massive impact. Aquila will now have clear skies, and it almost looks like a green tinted mist just moved out. Things aren't going to be quite as dramatic in New Atlantis, but there still is a noticeable visual change across planets throughout all of Starfield, and for that reason I really like this one. Some of the environments will just look a bit less washed out and richer, and particularly some of the foliage you could find becomes a lot more lush and green, or at least those colors just stand out a bit more. I've been using this mod in the background for about a week now, and it's probably my favorite mod available for the game right now, and since this is just a filter change, there's going to be no performance impact. But if you like the idea of that mod but it just wasn't fully delivering, you could alternatively get natural LUTs, which is going to be a bit more dramatic of an enhancement and make Starfield a bit more colorful overall while still maintaining its original style. I would say this is Starfield enhanced. The richness of the colors in some environments are just far more present with this mod, and even when compared to some of the neutral LUT environments, this mod has a larger impact. You'll find even bluer skies in Aquila City, and some of the random planets with flora will really stick out now, with color really dominating the scene overall. Both of these mods are going to be entirely subjective. I want to give you a couple of options for changing the appearance of your game, and honestly, I think either mod, either neutral LUTs or natural LUTs, is an upgrade over vanilla Starfield. The game definitely looks great, but once you see it with one of these mods installed, it really just does look weirdly washed out at points, and I just think the game looks far better with mods like these. Jetpack Overhaul is a phenomenal new gameplay mod that's going to modify how your jetpack works. Instead of being forced into doing quick half-second bursts of your jetpack, you can now use it for as long or as short as you want to. So now even with a balanced jetpack, as I'm using here, you could just dump the entire burst and shoot yourself into the sky almost like a power jetpack. Or alternatively, just break your fall with a super short burst, saving you a ton of fuel. This mod overall is just going to give you far greater control over your jetpack. And it's another one that is one of my favorite mods out there right now. It makes the jetpack in Starfield feel a lot stronger because you have a lot more versatility with it. You can now actually climb to higher heights or even not climb as high. If you're just trying to break your fall really quickly, you don't have to use nearly as much fuel, and overall it's a really great one. If you're using a jetpack, I would highly recommend giving this mod a go. Baka NPCs always drop their equipped armor, will restore the functionality of past Bethesda games, so any human NPC you take out will now drop their full armor and spacesuit. This is really just nice. It was a weird design decision to make NPCs drops randomized somewhat in Starfield. The way it works by default is NPCs basically have a chance to drop their helmet, pack, or spacesuit, but it was never guaranteed, so they might drop none of those. With this mod, they will always drop all of those. Whatever armor and spacesuit they are wearing will be dropped on the ground as you take them out, just like how it worked in past games. And for me, I just like this a lot more. I think it's really nice when you see an enemy with a cool armor, you take them out and you can immediately get that armor for yourself. It's a much more positive and satisfying gameplay loop. Burden Me Not is a super interesting new mod. What this will do is make it so all of the actual junk items in Starfield are non-lootable. In past Bethesda games, things like tape or screwdrivers or even tissues could be broken down into junk and did have a lot of inherent value as a result. But they removed that functionality in Starfield, so now you just have resources and manufactured components. But of course, Bethesda veterans kept accidentally looting all of the other useless crap because they're so used to it not being useless in past games. While this mod will just outright remove the ability for you to loot useless crap. The objects are still interactable, you can still pick up random crap you find on tables all throughout Starfield, but it'll just block the ability for you to loot it, which to me is super nice. Early on into Starfield, I found it somewhat confusing as to what items I actually need to be picking up versus which I don't, and I think for new players in general, this will just make the entire looting process a lot simpler. Craftable ammo and utilities will implement the ability to craft a variety of typically non-craftable items in Starfield. So you will finally be able to craft med packs for yourself, and honestly, these aren't even all that cheap, so I feel like this is a fairly well-balanced implementation of this, but alternatively, it also adds in the ability to craft things like digipicks, which maybe are a bit too far on the cheap side, as well as a wide variety of ammo types at the industrial workbench, giving you a lot more flexibility overall. And I really like this mod. I feel like all of these things should be craftable, especially with what kind of time investment you really have to give to truly get into crafting between doing research and just actually getting all of these skills. I feel like, yeah, I should probably be able to make my own med packs if I want to. But if you're somebody who's diving into shipbuilding in Starfield, there are a trifecta of mods out there right now that will make the system far more enjoyable to use. Shipbuilder Tweaks and Shipbuilder Tolerance Tweaks are from the same mod author and are going to give you more flexibility in the shipbuilder. The regular building tweaks mod will make the shipbuilder just feel more snappy. The rotate and zoom speeds will be sped up. There'll be more floors from you to choose from, as well as snapping distances will be much shorter, which for me was the biggest and most handy change. This allowed you to be far more precise in what exactly you were trying to snap to. And the tolerance tweaks will allow you more overlap in between ship parts. So you have more flexibility in where you fit certain parts into your ship and can definitely create more interesting spaceships overall with this mod installed. But then if you are truly diving into shipbuilding, a huge quality of life improvement will be shipyards unlocked. This will make it so shipbuilding vendors in Starfield will have all of the possible ship parts available at them. So if you just go to one vendor, you'll be able to find everything. Typically, certain vendors will have certain types of parts, so you'll have to jump around from one vendor to another to truly get access to everything. This will simplify that. Just go to one vendor, one shipbuilding menu, and you'll have everything unlocked right there. You still, of course, have to pay for it. It's not like everything becomes free now, but it's just going to simplify how much jumping around you'll have to do. But those are a bunch of mods you could download right now to make Starfield a better game. And if you are enjoying Starfield, check out this video, where I share with you some of the best money-making tips on how to get truly rich in Starfield.